Testing 1, 2.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 2 p.m. and so we will begin the February meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners, and we will begin by calling the roll.
My mic isn't, oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. It is now.
On then too. Okay, we'll call the roll.
Hauser?
Present.
Vice Chairperson?
Present.
Garcia? Okay, and Ken Locke are excused but plans to join us.
We have a quorum. Next is the approval of the agenda, and I want to propose one modification to the agenda as presented. Item 4A will be, we'll call upon the director and the deputy director to make some comments about the water main collapse and the activities that have been going on around that. And so with that modification, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Chair, with that modification.
It's been moved and supported. Any corrections or additions to the agenda other than the one that I've indicated? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adopted unanimously. Next, we have the minutes of January the 15th, 2025. Commissioners?
Here.
Moved and supported that they be approved. Any corrections or addition to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. And that's adopted unanimously. All right, let's move to item 4A, and that would be where I'm going to call upon Director Brown to give us an update about what's been going on in Southwest Detroit.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask the Deputy Director to just outline the circumstances up until this point, and then I'll add a little bit at the end.
Good afternoon, Sam Smalley, Deputy Director, DWSD. On Monday morning at approximately 2 a.m., a 54-inch transmission main, a steel transmission main installed in 1930, ruptured at the intersection of Rowan and Beard. After receiving multiple calls, DWSD responded to that location at approximately 4 a.m., realized it was not a small break, it was a significant break, and we immediately began mobilizing essentially everyone from field services out to respond. Our response was aided by Detroit Police Department, Detroit Fire Department, HRD, and many other city departments, including DPW, GSD, and others. I'd like to especially thank the men and women from DWSD. It was probably below 10 degrees and the water is freezing, and they put their boots on and waded right in to clear catch basins, get the sewers cleaned. The sewer system was overwhelmed based on the amount of water that came out of that 54-inch. And once we got the water slowed down, our men and women were diligently cleaning every catch basin, every sewer to relieve the amount of flooding that occurred. And with that, I'll turn it over to Gary.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, as Sam said, we arrived pretty early in the morning. Our crews got there at 4:30 or so, but we got there around 6, and I had never seen anything like it. Just the sheer number of blocks that were underwater. There were people that were on top of cars. There were people shouting from their top porches that the water was reaching the first floor. And there was more than 5 or 6 feet of water in the street. So just, you couldn't get to the homes. And so we got Harbor Master to get boats to assist in getting people off cars. Sam used some of our heavy equipment, our backloaders, to literally put firemen in the buckets and drive them down to homes and grab kids and get them into our equipment, into the bucket of the truck, and bring them down to EMS, waiting EMS vehicles. And I also had DDOT bring buses that were parked on the service drive, and we made arrangements to get them into a warming center, one of the rec centers, before we could get hotel arrangements made. And so I got together with GLEWA, and I can't say enough good things about the partnership on this particular issue. They agreed that we need to do the right thing. We've got freezing single-digit temperatures. This is the Great Lakes Water Authority asset that flooded those properties. This wasn't a natural disaster. And so that we need to come up with an arrangement right now that we'll split the cost 50-50, and let's do the right thing and get people into hotels. And right, as of last night, you had 103 households, and that's probably 2 or 3 people, dogs, cats, a rooster, pets, that are currently staying at the hotel. We've learned we did not have translators. This is a heavily immigrant community, very suspicious of the police. And so we had 80 buildings and safety inspectors go door to door to doing an initial welfare check on those homes and give us an assessment. And we took, each one of them, as of today, had a Spanish-speaking interpreter with them, because it's obvious 68 people would not open their doors. And clearly we're saying we don't want to talk to you through Google translation. We need a Spanish-speaking. And so I know LaSed has stepped in, and DWSD took translators out to homes today. We had a 6-inch water main that was damaged by this 54-inch water main that broke. And so it put approximately 50 people out of service. And we were ready to put them back into service today, and we needed to ask them to boil water for 48 hours. And so we took a Spanish-speaking interpreter when we delivered that message to those 50 homes. So right now, you currently only have 4 homes that are out of water. There are 400 homes in the universe of the footprint of this issue. I believed originally, and I believe today, there are a minimum of 200 of them that have some form of damage. There may be more. But we will tomorrow emergency contracts in place. We're getting inspectors on board. We're having a meeting tomorrow with 10 inspectors to start tomorrow sanitizing the homes and cleaning out the debris. And by Monday, we'll have contractors that can do electrical work, that can do HVAC work, replace furnaces, repair furnaces, that type work. We can't go in and clean the water out if electricity is still on. So DTE is on site. They're working with us. The restorations will start tomorrow, and hopefully by the weekend, some people will be back in their homes. We have a claims process that is going live today. It will be both in Spanish and English. And we have, the mayor has indicated that those uninsured residents will be made whole, or at least compensated for the damages to their property. It's a lot said. There's a lot going on. I do want to put the crisis number out. I know people are listening publicly. We wanted one phone number that was the source of truth. As soon as you call that number, you've also initiated the complaint process. And it's just one phone number if you need help. The first night, there were a lot of folks that just didn't want to go to the hotel. It got pretty cold last night, and so more people were willing. And in the mornings, we provide Uber rides to their jobs if they need it. We provide a DDOT bus to bring them back and forth to their homes if they want to go in and work during the day or just keep an eye on things. We provide transportation for them to do that. So that one number is 313-774-5261. 313-774-5261. That's the only number they need to call. And yesterday, and I'm sure the number is higher today, there's a 3:30 briefing that will update numbers with inspectors that have gone out and done additional inspections. But I know for a fact that as of yesterday, we had talked to 200 of the residents that actually are in the 400 area footprint. So we had, the first day, we had already gotten through half of the people there. And I'm sure by today, that number will rise to 300, 350. So I'll stop there and just ask the board if there are any questions or concerns that we can address.
Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Blackman?
I just have commendations. Really grateful for the leadership, for all of the people who were workers, who corrected this for the citizens of Southwest Detroit, and really praise for those residents for what they were able to go through and how we were able to help them. I'm just really gratified that we were able to respond as quickly as we did and provide them with some sense of comfort.
Garcia?
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Director, for the report. Unfortunately, in our community, we're having a lot of issues. LACE is taking on a lot of the applications that we're looking at and translating them for them because they needed translators. But the most important thing was that some of the people that went out went with law enforcement because I thought it was safety issues. I'm sure that's what it was, but people weren't answering the door. So that's how they were coming to our agency, was because they weren't answering the door, because they're not going to answer a door with police departments, with anybody with authority like that, because it scares them. They're very fearful right now. So they see a uniform and they panic. So they called our office, and we're trying to get the translators to call us at LACE, and then we will translate the information back to the city. That's how we're trying to do it. But that was very scary. And they were very afraid of, somebody that did come to our office, something about they would help them, but with the waiver, and they didn't understand it because it wasn't in Spanish. So, there's a lot of issues that they're going to have to correct in a very short time. And some people are not leaving their homes, so we called DTE if we could get generators. So I just wanted to tell you there is some issues that are going on, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to solve them all, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew, for the record, the police department's probably not the best persons to be sending out in immigrant communities. Just an issue.
And, I was there. Okay, so it's 4:00 in the morning when our crews arrived. By 8:00 that morning, we've got the water receding in streets. I'm talking about 5-6 feet of water. The only group of people available were student police officers that were starting an academy class. We needed people to knock on doors, door to door, for public health and safety reasons. Once we got organized and established, we recognized we've got to put an interpreter with every inspector that goes to every house, and that is happening now. Let me say that most of the reporting that I've seen from the news media has been very positive. But I've seen that, one of the news media wrote that there was a second break, and they were filming it live and putting it on television. And I'm sitting next to the mayor with 30 other people, and it's being reported on this channel live that we've got a secondary break when in fact it was Sam and Gleewer crews out exercising valves trying to get the water shut off. There was no, but it's just irresponsible for them not to call someone and verify before you put that out there. The waiver issue. Clearly, the waiver is a waiver that we have used 600 times in Jefferson Chalmers. We use it in the basement backup program. We use it in the lateral sewer line program that we're working right now. Clearly, in bold letters, in capital letters, it says that you are not waiving your right to claim of damage by any state, federal, or city ordinance. You still, your rights are preserved to be able to make those claims. And we're not forcing people to sign the document right away. There's no pressure. There was pressure to get the document out in the community because I can't start the work and I want to start tomorrow. So those that want to go ask friends or legal aid or get an attorney to review it, they certainly have time to do that. I have 200 homes that are online to begin work. And so if someone wants to take the time, please, we want them to take the time to be comfortable and understand what they're signing. We're not forcing that onto anyone. So we're learning as we go. And I think that I just gotta just one more shout out to American Water Resources because they've taken some hits at this table. But their partnership, they came in and immediately donated $20,000, which is very helpful, you know, with some needs that I have right now. They also donated or offered their inspectors as well as their contractors who do this work. And we'll have 10 inspectors or 5 of their inspectors in our office tomorrow at 9 o'clock to begin work. And they're going to waive any fees for the next 6 months of anybody that's in the footprint of. So they and many others. I'm just naming one. The donations that are coming in are almost overwhelming. That are being delivered at churches and services by the community. This is just I've seen some disasters in the city before, but I've never seen the city come together as a whole with so many different departments. I need general services department. I need DPW. We need everybody is fire department. I mean, they were wading through freezing water to get kids out of houses and people off of the top of cars. It was just truly amazing. And yep.
Volunteers out there, and the issue, I think it's a lot of the issues is how to coordinate it all. And I know that LaSalle opened up the gymnasium so that people could go in there and file whatever necessary paperwork they have to with assistance of bilingual services. So I just wanted you to know that because I thought it was very important that the mayor's office called and said, you know, they didn't have enough bilingual people. So they asked us to jump in, and they asked also UNI to help out in that area. So I know that there is the nonprofits, including the churches in the area, are trying to help out, Mr. Director.
Was given the assignment today that every house that's visited will have an interpreter. And it's his job to make sure that we have enough. And I know that we have more than we need right now. Cesar Chavez Academy was good enough to open up the school to allow us to use it as a warming center, a feeding center for our employees to be able to take breaks and warm. So the community has just been outstanding in getting this thing turned around in just a remarkable amount of time.
And I was out there this morning, so I wanted to make sure that we talked to some of the neighbors to get the word out. So, you know, hopefully they will open the doors, but that's the biggest issue we have, Mr. Director. Okay?
To acknowledge that Commissioner Forte, Commissioner Kinlock are present, and I'd like to recognize Commissioner Davis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo Commissioner Blackman's comments. I can't recall in my years to see the amount of movement, the mountains that were moved in a matter of hours in the middle of the night. So I'd like to commend the mayor and the leadership and Director Brown of this department and all the other departments that came together. I've never seen that. In addition to that, I know that the Downriver Dive Team was there, Oakland County, Macomb, even Monroe County, and there were probably some others. There was a time we wouldn't have seen that type of regional cooperation. I can't say enough about it. So we have a lot to be thankful for, and my hat's off to you.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
A letter from one of the most I'm going to let you read it, sir. One of the most, one of the advocates, shall I say, who has never been a real, she's been a strong critic of things that have happened in the water department, but she responded to this, this event, and I mean, she's really a strong advocate for the community, but I'd like for the director to read this letter for the record.
So, I mean, you know, most of the issues she's taken on have been have been justified. And so she wrote me a note, and, you know, I can remember having dinner with her 5 years ago over some issues in which we disagreed on, but we found a way to compromise. And I think I know for a fact that we respect each other. I respect her a lot. And so she wrote me a letter. She said, Mr. Brown, over the years, we've been on opposite sides of issues more than once, which is true. However, the Detroit response to the recent mass flooding in Southwest has been a clinic in how to address similar events nationwide. The team that the city put into the field, according to reports, included multiple departments all focused on solving this crisis ASAP, was a step above. Detroit police going door to door to offer the residents help was terrific. To learn that residents were not being offered shelters, but hotel accommodations with transportation and access to food was so heartwarming and demonstrated that Detroit knew how to treat folks engaged in a crisis not of their making. There's a lot of criticism when things go wrong, but at this moment, we applaud these Herculean efforts that can be the envy nationwide. And thank you to the city of Detroit.
Thank you. You know, I think first and foremost, our hearts go out to the people who were displaced. I cannot imagine being woken up at 4 a.m. with water coming into the house, the temperature is in single digits, and what a frightening prospect that must have been. And so they're certainly in our thoughts, they're in our prayers. And I'll just repeat, you know, how proud we are of the mayor and the director, how proud we are of the field service people who were out there 6 a.m. with single digit temperatures and wading in the water and immediately coming to these people's. It's unfortunate. The system is old. It's old. But this is a very, very proud day for Detroit. Any other comments? Very well, then we will move on to public comments. We have a couple of people who have signed on here, and we'll take them first and then see if there's anyone else in the room that would like to make a comment, and then if there's anyone online.
Mr. Chair, Tiffany Jones, Business Opportunity Director. To make a comment, if you are in person, please sign the sign-in sheet. Your name will be called and you can proceed to the microphone. If you are online, please raise your hand by using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device. If you are calling into the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. If you are online using the Zoom app or on the phone, after your name is called, you will get permission to unmute. But in order to begin speaking, you will have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon if you're online or on the app, or *6 if you are calling in. You have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment, and there will be a timer indicating your remaining time. If you're online and make a comment, we kindly request that you fill out the comment card link that's located in the chat. With this information, we can follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a phone number will be provided for you. You will only be called upon once, and once the chair closes public comment, there will be no other comments from the public, and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the meeting. I believe the on-site comments usually go first, and then followed by online and on the phone. Thank you for your attention. Mr. Chair.
Much. And I'd like to begin by calling on John D. LaSala. Good afternoon, Mr. LaSala.
My name is Laszlo, Laslau, sir.
It's the last letter that threw me off.
Dear Water Commissioners, my name is John D. Laszlo, and I'm a native of Transylvania. And for me, it's a great honor to be here today in front of you, so I want to say thank you. Now, first, I want to say I'm very sorry to hear about the disaster you guys experienced with the pipe, but there is a big problem. Entire infrastructure of the United States is falling apart, yet Washington gives our money to foreign countries instead of spending money on us. So it's a very big problem. But regarding our problem here, I want to say thank you for your water quality. You have great water quality. I was born in native Transylvania by the mountains, and your water tastes almost as good as the water from the spring, in the mountains in Transylvania. But there is a problem. Your pricing is wrong. You make your water good, but unaffordable. So what good is to it? So now, the reason why I wanted to be in front of you today and talk is because I want the Detroit Water and the other, whatever is Great Lakes Weather Authority to charge me for the water I use, not for the weather, for the rain or for the area of my property. I do not have control over the rain. Why you tax me for the rain? If Washington wants to treat the rainwater, they should pay for treating, not me. I understand there is pollution. The big oil companies, they sell us oil and people dump it in the drain. Well, charge the big oil companies. They make billions of dollars in profits, yet you charge the poor to clean up the mess for the big oil companies. Come up with something like the refund on the soda bottles and something for the oil to make the polluters, the oil companies, responsible, not the poor of Detroit. You guys are billing me $65 a month for water. I don't spend that much money for vodka in a month. So you are overbilling me because it rains. I don't have control over rains. Also, about the area of my properties that you base my bill about the area, I'm already taxed by the city government, the property tax regarding with the area. So this is double taxation. So please look into that. This is illegal. Don't bill me for the rain, which I don't have control. Don't bill me for the area of my property, which I'm already taxed by Mike Duggar. Now, the third issue which I had a problem and I had a meeting. As you can see, I'm a poor, low life. I don't dress up like you guys with suit and ties. I came for a meeting to discuss my problem downstairs. Ms. Myers wouldn't let me in her office because she thought I looked non-conforming. She wanted to do the meeting in the waiting room. I think that's unacceptable. Now, I love you guys. You have good water quality. You got to make it affordable for the people in Detroit, not for the people in Luxembourg or Monaco, Monte Carlo, or something where they have billionaires. So we have to work with the government to address these issues. You got to charge for how much water people use, not for the rain or for the area their property has.
Is up.
Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Jermaine Payne. Good afternoon, Mr. Payne. How are you?
Commissioners, how y'all doing today? It's a pleasure to be here before y'all. Gary Brown, I want to give you a thank you, a big thank you for getting those crews out there diligently to assist my brothers and sisters, Hispanic brothers and sisters out there in Southwest Detroit. You did the best you can with what you had in the short time you had. So I want to commend you on that, well as the other teams and Gleela, Sue, she did an outstanding job as well. We always want to give commendations to Gleela because they are partners with DWSD. However, we still got a lot of work to do this year. This catastrophic failure on the infrastructure in our city, we don't want this to ever happen again. And I know we don't have much control of what the pipes are underneath the ground, but we have technology now that can tell us where the water mains can potentially be a catastrophic problem. And we need to utilize the funding for our infrastructure, our capital improvement money that we spend every year. We need to utilize those funds and appropriate them in the manner that we should. I also want to talk about, this has been a timely thing over and over. I come before this board about infrastructure problems, sewer problems, all type of issues. I buy properties in the city of Detroit, so I'm familiar with the issues with the sewer systems. I do understand that we did have a flood back in June of 21 when we had that catastrophic flooding. It showed us that our infrastructure is poor. It showed us a lot when we had freeways flooded and people were stuck on the freeways in their cars. I actually have experience from that because my sister was stuck on the Southfield Freeway when all that flooding happened. So I'm personally aware of the situation. I hear the board approving all these contracts going out of DWSD, and a lot of it has got to do with infrastructure, but I don't see much improvements because we have still these kind of water main breaks, these sewers bagging up, people's basements are flooding, and et cetera, including my own basement of my properties that I own. So I want Gary Brown to focus the DWSD team on infrastructure this year, and let's make a do-over it. Let's get it done. We have the people, we have the intelligence in the water department, we have the skills. I want to send a big thanks to our skilled trades workers who are out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting people out of their homes. I want to say a big thanks to the police department, Mayor Mike Duggan. He's not a fan of me, but I do appreciate him doing the best he can as the mayor to try to help these people. Like I said, I'm a Hispanic, so I'm experiencing the same hurt for my people who were out there stuck at 4 o'clock in the morning on their cars and their basement was over flooded and et cetera. So let's just work to get this done this year. Ms. Garcia, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Payne. My reaction is something like that. The infrastructure is so old. Something like this will happen again. And it isn't a question of that it won't happen. The real question is, what's the response going to be? And I think in this instance, the response was extraordinary. And we'll just have to make sure when something like this happens again, the response is extraordinary. All right, is there anyone else in the room that would like to address the Board of Commissioners?
No one in the room, Mr. Chair. We do have one hand raised online.
All right.
Teresa Landrum.
What's the last name again?
Landrum.
Ms. Landrum,
Yes, may I be heard?
we hear you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And as mentioned in previous speakers, I commend for the quick reaction to the water main break. My challenge and question is, I put it in also in the chat, will this repair result in higher rate hikes off the backs of the residents? For over 30 years, I've been watching the water board meetings, going to city council, and all 3 or 4 times a year, the DSW asks for rate increases, and they get them. But in the communities, we don't see any improvements. This water main break shows us that this is a problem throughout the whole city. We have here in Southwest Detroit 48217, we have a lot of flooding yearly for over 20 years. 2021 through 24 showed us how bad it was. Our streets flood yearly. We need for someone from the water department, Great Lakes Water, to come down and look at our community and see how we flood yearly. I have sent pictures into the city council, to the Department of Neighborhoods. We have flooding daily. This water main break is just the tip of the iceberg. And I want to say, all these years that we've been getting rate increases, we have not seen any improvement in our sewer drainage here in Southwest Detroit 48217. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. And I want to say one last thing. I ask and request and demand a forensic audit of the Detroit Water Source Department and GLEWA on how the monies are being spent so that we in the communities can be assured that the money is going to really work on the antiquated water system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that would like to address the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Attorney Hemphill.
Ms. Hemphill?
May I be heard?
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon, Attorney Norrell Hemphill with We the People of Detroit. I'm first calling to, well, good afternoon to the board. I'm first calling to thank you for a residence issue that was resolved. I see that you received our correspondence in the agenda. We had been working for a couple of months to raise that issue, and it was the coordination of a few departments within the city of Detroit that was able to get that fixed for that resident. Again, this resident is an elder, and was having an issue with the sewer lateral. Her sewer lateral was disconnected. She was eligible for the program, but they were saying they had to demolish her garage at her own expense. And so we're glad and grateful that the department was able to get that done for her. She does still have raw sewage in her basement and in her backyard. So we'll be following up for to get help with her for that. Additionally, we know that the Lifeline plan has been downsized and that there are residents who were on the Lifeline plan. At its height, I believe it had almost nearly 27,000 households enrolled in that plan. Right now, it looks like, according to the numbers, there's just over 11,000. And to date, we haven't heard a clear plan for what's going to happen to those other residents who were actually kicked out of the program. So my question concerning that is, what's happening with those people? We know that 90% of the people who were on Lifeline were in that first tier, that $18 a month plan. The $18 a month plan was from 0 to 135% of the federal poverty rate. So these are people that 40% of Detroiters who are living impoverished, in abject poverty, who were actually benefiting from the Lifeline plan, having a bill that they could afford, and then also having shut-off protections. We know that water is a human right. No human being on this earth can live without water. It's such a sacred and such a needed um, it's needed for everyday life. Nobody can live without it, and we need to make sure that Detroiters have this precious resource from our own infrastructure that we've bought and paid for with our tax dollars. So it doesn't make any sense that our residents are not able to enjoy the fruits of their own labor. So again, if we could get information about what's to become of those residents who were previously enrolled in the Lifeline plan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there? Yes?
Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Miko Williams.
All right. Mr. Williams?
Yes, hi, good afternoon, board. D'Amico Williams, Chief Executive Director of Hydrate Detroit. Just want to say thank you. Uh, Thank you to the men and women and the water workers of the Detroit Water and Sewage Department for jumping into action. Thank you to Executive Brown and Director Smalley for doing everything that they could. I do not give Mike Duggan any praise or respect. I will never praise the GLWA. This is their issue. This is their problem. You know, we talk about regionalism and bipartisanship and how everyone's supposed to work together. But since we've had this lease with GLWA, the problems that have happened since 2016 with water main breaks and disasters, flooding of freeways and such, I can't stop to think that this situation would have been well aborted because DWSD would have detected the leak. They would have detected the problem. They would have fixed it. I just don't understand why are we offering to help pay for that when this is not our responsibility. You know, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say that the GLWA partnership isn't working out, and I'm going to condemn that rate increase. I'm going to condemn the rate increase. We should not have to pay these exorbitant prices as retail when we're a wholesale water department. We pay our taxes to this entity of this body that you all are sitting in today. I just have to remind you all that even if we are under an illegal entity like GLWA that's supposed to be regionalization for the entire southeastern Michigan, DWSD owns the system and we can handle our own affairs. Well, when we have Mr. Brown sitting on the board, I hope he's defending Detroit and defending our interest. And then when GLWA says that they have to raise the rates and pass the rates on to the customers, then that includes us. We have to pay more in our water bills that Mr. Brown promised us down here. We don't have to pay because they're capping the rates and trying to prevent the water bill rates from increasing. So I say, hell no, we're not going to pay one dime, not one dime to that problem, to any other problem. We talk about infrastructure. I would love to argue more about infrastructure than I would to argue about Lifeline. I'm very sick and tired of that. You know, let people figure it out on their own. But infrastructure is very important. You have communities that have been waiting for the basement backup protection program and the monies to come following it. Now, hopefully, at the next meeting, there will be a presentation and an update of where we are with all of these concerns before any rate increase. And I'm encouraging everybody to show up to GLWA next Wednesday at that room so that we can say no to the water rate increase. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Rosalind Oxburn,
Hosmitter?
Ogburn.
Osborne, thank you. Ms. Osborne?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Detroit Water Board Commissioners, and it is Rosalind Ogburn. Thank you for having this opportunity for us to bring our comments in. I came in a little late. I'm hoping that our request was granted, that we're making our comments and questions after you posed information and delivered facts, because it makes more sense for us to be reflecting or asking questions after so crucial information is delivered and brought forth. So I want to just make that comment as well, because we want to make sure our residents are educated, updated, and able to bring relevant information in real time to the Water Board Commission. I also want to just say thank you for all those that were very timely and on task for our residents in D6. I hold multiple environmental roles, but I am the Detroit Equity Climate Advisory Council member for District 7. We had a water main break a couple weeks ago as well, but not as detrimental and as catastrophic as this water main break. But I do want to agree with those that came on before, but specifically Miko Williams, with the infrastructure funding opportunities. We do not want our rates increased because we currently, even we are the owners of these water systems, being a resident of Detroit and a homeowner, but we pay the largest rate compared to the ones that we lease the services to. We pay for the water we drink, the water we flush, and the water that come from God. So I think that we do have funding already available. The infrastructure system, we've already identified for years that it needed upgraded. It needed repairs. We have already stated climate has changed and it needed to be addressed. So this is why certain systems and funding was applied, especially like the drainage fee, to make sure this infrastructure was upgraded and maintained in a timely fashion to make sure we can be prepared for this climate that we said was changing. And now it's here. I do believe next week we will have weather at almost 50 degrees below in our UP. We are going to pray we don't have that frigid weather here in Detroit. But I just want to say again, we do not want to have that type of catastrophic main break in any other district. But I do want to say we cannot afford another water hike. I believe there's there's funding already to support the water system already. But I do request that the city of Detroit look at their budget and the funding that's already on the books to ensure that we can upgrade the infrastructure system throughout the city of Detroit to secure that we survive. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, our last hand is Ms. Gwendolyn Howard.
Ms. Howard,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I echo and ditto all of the accolades that the team, Water, GLEWA, all of them put together to help our constituents in that issue. I am Gwendolyn Howard with We the People of Detroit, and I just wanted to add on to what Sister Narelle was saying, because you know we were a champion for the Lifeline program because all of our constituents live in that area and we kind of like campaign to get them on there. So now that the system the program has changed considerably, what I do want to add to what she said is that in looking at the reports and helping trying to assist people who are no longer on your Lifeline program but still have those bills and they haven't quite figured out how to navigate to it, the federal poverty level income has not been updated for 2025 on any of your sites. So I would like for you guys to address that just in case you know it was not right there, but it's not updated for the 2025. So people could be getting denied or approved either way with the wrong figures. So I did want you guys to look at that. So again, thank you for the efforts and the champion teams that were out there assisting our people, and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much. I believe that concludes the list of people who wanted to address the board. Is there anyone else within the sound of my voice? All right, then we will move on to the next item, and that's communications, items 6A and B. What is your pleasure, commissioners?
Receive and file correspondence.
Moved, seconded by Commissioner Forte. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. And that's adopted unanimously. Next, item 7, any items from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, just wanted to say pretty much what everyone has said so far. The department, the mayor, so many partners warrants all of our support and our gratitude because when we all woke up that morning, we heard about this catastrophic event that occurred in Southwest Detroit. And it wasn't just us who heard about it. It was heard across the country. And we never know how our folks who are trained and go out there and work every day, how they will respond when and if we have this level of an issue. But hats all off. And I heard from some folks who work in some of the corporate organizations that when they called the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, called the City of Detroit, the city of Detroit was well prepared. You know, they respond to hurricanes around this country and around in parts of the world. And they said their conversations with DWSD as well as with the city of Detroit matched the best of responses. And so that they said, you know, they were very proud to be from Detroit and to see how Detroit had responded. So I just want to, you know, publicly say that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Any commissioners have any other items they'd like to bring up? All right, then let's move on to number 9, the approval of the consent agenda. And the consent agenda consists of items 9A through 9G. As people who visit us regularly know, each of these items was reviewed in detail at the committee level, primarily with the Finance Committee, and they were recommended for approval by us. My first question is, does any commissioner want to remove any item from the consent agenda so that it be considered separately? Commissioner Forte.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't want to remove an item, but I'd like to go back to items from commissioners. I did have two comments. I just want to say ditto to everything that all the commissioners have expressed about the excellence in which the department responded and all of the departments of the city who supported. So I just wanted to say that. But I also wanted to, in particular, along the lines of commendation, I wanted to commend our Matthew here for excellent response that he had to an individual customer client. This was about 2 weeks ago. He and his department, along of course with the leadership of Gary Brown, responded to a woman who had a shut-off notice on her door. And it was related to a billing issue that she'd had a year prior. And I have received messages and text from this particular customer with praise to have that stress relieved, to have the response. And I just wanted to commend Matt and his team. Thank you.
Commissioner Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if everyone is aware that we do have a media star on staff. Mr. Phillips has been on TV with a fantastic ad pointing out different ways of being able to receive your credentials. He does an excellent job. He's certainly an outstanding representative of this department. So I just wanted to make comment that I've seen it, and I really think it's you to be commended for pursuing that route and really making that university look very good.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Well, questions. It's just a question of clarification for me. The temporary services that staffing, can I have an example what we're talking about? Because I know we hire all the time, because I didn't understand. I just didn't understand the temporary staffing.
Primarily, if you're talking about item 9A 2025-26, it's primarily for IT support services, specialized IT services.
IT.
Yes.
Okay, IT. Okay, I put that down. And then the second question is that we had this collection at the bottom here, which is 2025-29. And the only reason I asked that is, does this fall into this program that we were talking about where people would pay so much money and they wouldn't be in delinquent if they're given the first opportunity? Or is this an organization, or is this contract for people that you just cannot collect at all? Do we know?
This contract is for non-active contracts that have been delinquent for 90 or more days. So these are contracts that have, not contracts, accounts that are actually closed. There is no water service there. They are not in any type of program, and they've been identified as delinquent. So they're not a part of the Promise Pay program or the $10 down Easy Pay program, but they are just delinquent accounts that DWSD will attempt to collect on. This is a non-revenue generating account, so we're not paying this contractor for anything, but they will collect 16% of what is collected as form of payment. So it's a separate contract for delinquent accounts that are non-active. They're not receiving water, and nor will they receive water in the future.
Customers of the water department, am I correct? So, but that also would affect their credit report ultimately with the credit bureau because of the delinquency?
I can't speak to their credit report and the delinquency. I can only speak to the contract terms and conditions, which is to collect against those accounts that have been 90 or more days delinquent.
We do not put delinquent bills on credit reports.
Thank you.
Answer questions regarding the consent agenda. I asked the question, does anyone wish to remove any of these items to be considered separately? And I assume the answer is no. Any other questions generally about any of the matters in this motion?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Been moved and it's been supported. I believe we have discussed it. So all those in favor of adopting the consent agenda items 9A through G, please say aye. Any opposed? And that is adopted unanimously. We have new business, and that has to do with the final project plan for sewer department, sewer rehabilitation. First, can we have a motion?
The chair.
Okay, but let's get it on the floor. Is there a motion? Yes.
Recommendation of Samuel A. Smalley, Deputy Director, the Board of Water Commissioners for the City of Detroit Water and Sewage Department. I recommend the adoption of the final project plan for the Detroit Water and Sewage Department sewer rehabilitation and designating an authorized project representative fiscal year 2026 Clean Waters State Revolving Fund, that the Board of Water Commissioners authorize the Chief Financial Officer and the Director to take such other action as may be necessary to accomplish the intent of this vote.
All right. We have a presentation.
Pei Boyer, Sewer System Manager, is going to provide the presentation, after which we will ask for approval of the resolution.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Pei Boyer. I am the Manager for Construction and Engineering at the Sewer Section. I am here to present today on the 2026 Clean Water State Revolving Fund. The revolving fund is an annual opportunity for DWSD to apply for this federal funding. Next. It's a low-interest loan program which has recently been funded about $1.5 billion in federal money. DWSD typically is well positioned to be awarded since we normally qualify as a significantly overburdened community. DWSD applies annually for both the Clean Water and Drinking Water Revolving Fund from EGLE. And if awarded this time, we intend to comply with all of EGLE requirements in the timeline and procurement standards. Next. This year, we are applying for a sewer rehab funding for Harbor Farms in Corktown. Next. Here is a map of the two neighborhoods we will be in, North Corktown and Harbor Farms. This is in District 6 as well. Next slide. We are applying for about $20 million in the SRS funding, and the work would be in those both neighborhoods.
Yeah, excuse me a second. Yeah, Commissioner Garcia?
That you had addressed it off in red. May I ask why?
Well, those are the two neighborhoods,
Pardon me?
identifying the two neighborhoods.
Map showing the neighborhoods of where the work will occur.
Thank you.
The volume?
A little closer to the mic, please. Thank you.
The project will include rehab of sewers, sewer mains, replacement of sewer mains, lining sewer mains, repairs to manholes and catch basins in the area. These two neighborhoods were identified through the department's risk model, and we have been there since 23, performing sewer assessments in the neighborhood. Specifically, the assets in this project were selected based on the product of the assessment we conducted. We haven't completed the entirety of the neighborhoods yet, but based on what we've assessed, we've put up the application for the $20 million in these two neighborhoods. Next slide. Let's go to the next slide. Here is a preliminary schedule, well, actually a schedule that was formulated between Eagle and DWSD that the director has already signed. The final awarding will be somewhere around on May. After the approval today, we will seek GLW's approval as well. And then the final project planning document is expected with Eagle in May, and then award is anticipated somewhere around February of 26. Next slide. Today, we ask for the board's approval so that we move ahead with this project. I'm happy to take questions now. Questions?
Mr. Chair, so Pay, is this a competitive grant proposal or not? It's not. Sam shaking his head, it's not competitive.
It's somewhat competitive, meaning that all Michigan cities, communities, agencies are going to apply. As Pay mentioned, as Mr. Boyer mentioned, we are rated as significantly overburdened, which means we've been very successful over the last few years. We are hopeful yet concerned about impacts to state revolving fund programs based on recent events, but we're very hopeful that that level of funding will continue.
And the point I want to make is that Pay he could speak for 8 hours. He's a very talented engineer that has done assessments of our sewers in this city and has deemed that there's risk in those two neighborhoods. And so, as you know, we have 139 square miles, 3,000 miles of, and people want to know, how did that water main break over in Southwest Detroit? Well, what he's doing is he's going to prevent sewers from collapsing because the assessment that has been done, the risk assessment that has been done says that these are heavy risk and we need to get into these neighborhoods and rehabilitate or replace these sewers before there's a catastrophic event. And so,
as I understand it, the age of the sewer is not necessarily the sole determinant of the risk.
What we do, we use a risk model that looks at the consequence of failure times the probability of failure. So consequence of failure, is it near a hospital, is it near a school, is it near a police department or some critical facility? Is it on a major road or freeway? Probability of failure, what's the condition of it? What's its break history been? How often has it backed up? So we look at both of those data sets, put it into a matrix, and this is the next place to spend the next dollar.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Forte.
Want to make sure I'm clear. What we're going to be applying for is funding of $20 million.
Yes, in recent history, we've been applying, this is a loan program, but based on our significantly overburdened status and the amount of funding that was available from the Biden-Harris administration, we have been very fortunate to get a lot of principal forgiveness. So it is a loan application with the possibility of forgiveness.
Even without a still low interest loan.
Low interest rate, yes.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I think we need opportunity for public comment.
Yes, this is a public hearing with regard to this plan. So is there anybody who would like to make a comment? Mr. Payne?
Good afternoon, board. Once again, thank you for giving me the time to speak. I just want to know how we came with the determination to pick Town and District 6 out of all the districts we have where there's catastrophic issues with the sewer mains. Why are this neighborhood particularly in choice of repairing on the first of the top of the list? I know I'm in District 7. I own property in District 2, 4, 5, and there are catastrophic issues with the sewer mains behind some of my properties. I've also hired my own master plumbers to do plumbing evaluations in the neighborhood, and we determined that there are mains that have trees and all type of stuff growing in them that's causing taps to be destroyed and et cetera. And like I said, I work with Matt Phillips. Me and him have a good relationship. I brought some of the issues up to him directly and let him know that neighborhoods are being affected. He's done a good job with getting crews out there to evaluate the mains. But how are we determining our risk neighborhoods based on engineering facts and findings? I think that is a little bit puzzling to me as a taxpayer, as a business owner, et cetera, with a family, et cetera, and et cetera. I come before this board because I hear people coming in here all the time about their basements bagging up, neighborhoods and other districts are bagging up, and we are putting all the money in downtown. Town is a downtown district. And anywhere near downtown, it's always seemed to get the most infrastructure money, and we pour it all into these downtown areas, but we haven't touched the areas that seem to be more of a higher risk situation. So I want Gary Brown to explain that. Why did District 6 get that money, or is going to get $20 million in infrastructure money when we can be pouring that into other districts that are more high risk, like over by the Southfield Freeway area, Brightmoor area. I know Brightmoor floods a lot because I used to live over there. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Chair Kinlock.
just wanted to say something as relates to this issue. Corktown has, at least from what I've been told and what I've learned as I've been engaged in this city, is the oldest and continuous continuous community within the city of Detroit. And they have had, as you all know, over the years, a lot of infrastructure failure, and it's directly tied to the age of our infrastructure within that community. And so just wanted to say that, because I get a lot of calls from residents over there as well. Yeah.
I don't want anyone to believe that this is the only project that we're working on. We just happen to be, we see a funding source for these two projects that have been engineered and designed, are ready to go. And so we're applying for it, but we have projects all over the city that are either ongoing or in construction, being paid for with other dollars. It is true that the oldest parts of the system start at the river and go north. The closer you get to 8 Mile is the newer parts of the system. And so the data that PAY has gathered in his assessment of these lines. We put cameras in the lines. He can see the fractures and fissures and the cracks, and he can determine the soil and the makeup of the material. And he's predicting that is worthy of these dollars. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to be working in Brightmoor or other areas of the city. We absolutely are. We're just asking this board to approve our opportunity to get a low to no interest rate bond from the state revolving fund.
Yeah, and I think it's important. We are applying for this money, and we can't apply for it if we don't say what we're going to do with it. And that doesn't curtail any other projects that are going on. It's just this opportunity. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, we do have some online hands. Our first is Ms. Teresa Landrum.
Landrum?
Landrum.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'd like to agree with the previous speaker in regards to where the infrastructure improvements are happening. Board member Kinlock and Mr. Brown and the gentleman that just spoke from, I guess, the city, I'm very disheartened to hear that, because we have been meeting with GLEWA representatives, Mr. Greg Marker in specific, about them creating and now working on a 3,500-foot tunnel from the Northwest Interceptor down to the Central Sewage Overflow Oakwood Pumping Station in Southwest Detroit on the corner of Liddesdale and Beatrice. Back during the administration of the Kwame Kilpatrick administration, they built that $200 million structure to accommodate overflow and all the extra water and 48217. Since that's been almost 20, 25 years, we have experienced serious flooding on our residential streets. When we spoke with GLEWA, Mr. Marker specifically, and told him that we had concerns about them building that 3,500 foot tunnel from the Northwest Interceptor for our area to take and accommodate more sewage from that area, we talked about the infrastructure repairs and drainage that we needed in our community. And Mr. Marker made a comment and he said, we're aware of it. That means we have been on the books for years and years for infrastructure improvement, but have not received it. And as the gentleman said before, we see new construction in Corktown, in Midtown, Techtown, downtown. We're a borderline community sandwiched in between River Rouge, Ecorse, Melvindale, and Dearborn on the back end. We're down here where Marathon is the only oil refinery in the state. We experience a high amount of environmental impacts, and flooding is one. During 21 through 24, our homes were flooded basement deep. Many of the residents have not seen any help from the city about cleanup from water backup. The streets have been flooding for over 20 years. I don't see that when I go to Corktown. It seems to me that the borderline communities, the predominantly African-American communities, are left out of this improvement. We hear you say, oh, there other areas is going to be considered. Well, we need you to come down and do a plan and mapping of our community, see why we flood yearly for over 20 years or more. So we understand improvements are going down to put a bright light on Detroit, but put a bright light on the residents that have been living here 67, and some of our residents are 100 years old, and we have not seen our tax dollars work for us, but yet we bear the rate increases. Come down, evaluate some of these Black communities, and give us the same consideration.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Michelle Jackson.
Jackson?
Thank you. May I be heard? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Ms. Jackson. Yes.
I am calling because I'm in the Chandler Park neighborhood area. We have a number of streets. For the last 4 years, they've been out here replacing and putting Band-Aids on these streets. Last summer, it was so bad, 2 people lost their cars, and they did not even come back to clean it up properly.
I don't know who it is that we need to speak to. I don't know who it is we need to sit down with, but I can definitely tell you it floods over here. It might not have broken this winter, but it has broken our street, Barrett, between Hearns and Olga, has been for the last 4 years. They've been putting band-aids up and down that one particular block. Is flooding all over in this area. Folks' basements are flooding, and we are not getting any help. The only time we see trucks is when something buses. Before that, we don't see anything. We don't see any type of infrastructure going on. We don't see any type of help, and we don't see any organizations helping us over here in this particular area. So please, I would like to know who we can talk to get some help, because I know for a fact putting band-aids on a problem doesn't help, but that's what's been done the last 4 years on that particular block. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Miko Williams.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, hi, commenting about the drinking water revolving fund. We need an update just off of what we've done, where we've been, and where we plan to go. And I do agree with Mr. Smalley. It is a concern of what's going on, and if we're going to even get support to continue. I just want to be clear that the drinking water quality is safe. The GLWA has had a few communities with lead higher than the Michigan legal limit. Now, people can make excuses about this, but it's supposed to be under 3 parts per billion. I want to ensure that our water, that we should have the cleanest drinking water in the entire state of Michigan. Also, when it comes to investment, how much investment does DWSD make and how much investment does DWLA make? I remember there was once upon a time we didn't have no chemists and water quality experts hired to ensure that the drinking water of Michigan is clean. Remember the uranium from that dock that was owned by Matty Maroon a few years ago. In fact, this is the anniversary, the 5th-year anniversary that we're supposed to have the Detroit River ordinance plan to ensure that we had clean water. I understand that some of you may think this doesn't make a difference, but it all adds up and it calculates where we're going right now and the investments that we're supposed to be making to make sure that we have clean drinking water in the city and the region. Again, regionalization is becoming a little bit flawed when it comes to this city. Now, I support Mr. Sam Smalley. I support his decision making. I'm pretty sure that he is experienced, capable, and qualified to make sure that we have the cleanest drinking water available. I also believe that there needs to be greater participation among the other authorities in the region to come together and to invest what little they have. We don't even have no money at all to make any of these achievements that we've been talking about for over 7 years. As I look back again, another situation to make sure the aquifers are and the easements that should be done by now. We need a status report, and it needs to be thorough and to the point. So I'll consider it this time to approve the drinking water revolving fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair, we have Attorney Hemphill.
Ms. Hemphill,
Yes, Attorney
you
Norrell
have the
is still
floor.
here. Thank you. I had a couple of questions about this project. Number one, is this a clean water SRF project or a drinking water SRF project? And then also for the general public, can you please briefly describe the SRF process? And in that, can you describe what overburdening significantly overburdened mean, and why those two terms are important in the SRF process. And then also, as far as DWSD is concerned, is there a priority list within DWSD that outlines the clean water projects that are, and the clean water and thus the infrastructure projects that are needing upgrades or fixes? You said that, excuse me, Mr. Brown, you said that the infrastructure downtown and closest to the river is the oldest infrastructure, and the infrastructure out toward 8 Mile is newer. And I understand that newer does not mean new. Can you please provide the exact ages or an age range even of the infrastructure, particularly the downtown infrastructure and the infrastructure as it spreads out into the neighborhoods? And then I have my final question is about this project again. We know that Detroit has a combined sewage system. Will this new system that is being proposed in Porttown, will this be also a combined system, or will it be separated? And if it is a combined system still, can you tell us why it is still combined and why it will not be separated? And those are all of my questions. Please let me know if there were any questions that were missed as far as this clean water SRF project is concerned. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest that we will get those questions from the tape and answer them in writing, and we will respond back to this board under communications of the next board meeting? There was a lot in there too. We want to make sure that we address it properly.
All right. Then we will bring the public hearing portion of this to a close. We have a motion. I want to note that the motion encompasses the resolution adopting a final project plan found on page 54. This requires a roll call vote. So can we call the roll? Yes.
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 Garcia. Coleman.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
All right, the motion is adopted unanimously. And I don't think that's necessary. It's adopted by incorporation in the motion that Commissioner Kinlock made. All right, would anyone like to read the resolution on page 54? I will. Whereas the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, DWSD, and the Great Lakes Water Authority, GLWA, recognize the need to make improvements to its existing sewer system that are owned and operated by the city of Detroit and are physically located within the city limits. And whereas DWSD has prepared a clean water state revolving fund project plan, which recommends sewer replacement and rehabilitation in Hubbard Farm and North Porktown neighborhoods. And whereas said project plan was presented at a public meeting held on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, and all public comments have been considered and addressed. And whereas DWSD formally adopted said project plan and agreed to implement the identified selected alternative of sewer system rehabilitation as described in said document, as evidenced by DWSD resolution, now therefore be it resolved that the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department formally adopts said project plan document and agrees to implement the selected project design. Be it further resolved that the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department Director, a position currently held by Gary Brown, is designated as the authorized representative for all activities associated with the project referenced above, including the submittal of the project plan document as the first step in applying to the state of Michigan for a clean water state revolving fund loan to assist in the implementation of the selective alternative. And the record will reflect, we took a roll call vote and the resolution was adopted unanimously. Hmm? We took a roll call.
Right, but you motioned it.
Yeah, we're fine. We've adopted it.
The support on that?
Yeah,
Stipulations to these SRF funding, is there a requirement that it be shovel ready, or are there any specific specifications that are needed to apply?
Because there is federal funding, Davis-Bacon applies, Buy America applies, so we do have to follow the federal procurement guidelines. We're not allowed to have local preferences, but we are allowed to have DBE, WBE, MBE type incentives.
Commissioner Garcia.
Jonathan wanted to vote. I have a question, Mr. Director, and it's just a question as we go along. Born and raised in Corptown, I understand how old it is. I went to Holy Trinity. So I just wanted to let you know that my biggest concern, and I guess that's just the beginning, I know where Hubbard Richard is right by La Salle, but the community as a whole has taken a lot of beating since they put in that second bridge. And I think it also complicated the underground. And, I don't know who's going to pay for it. I'd like to charge Canada. But, I just think that has done a lot of damage to the homes. Obviously, we had a sinkhole last summer. And then now with the issue with the pipe busting in Southwest Detroit. And I really do believe that hopefully as they move on, that part of the Southwest has taken a beating. The homes have taken beatings. I mean, some of the homes will be destroyed, their foundation. But if it hurt the foundation, I really seriously believe that maybe some study should be done, because I think they have hurt a lot of the underground piping. I just can't get over all the issues that people have been having. So I just say, as you move along, sir, that you look at that aspect as well. Gracias.
Yeah, we had a gas main that was ruptured. We had a 6-inch DWSD line that was ruptured. So there was a lot of damage done, with this explosion of this 54-inch main.
Mr. Chair, I'd like the record reflect that I'm a yay vote. I had to step out for the restroom, so I'd like to be recorded as a yes.
That is unanimously adopted. All right, director's report. Mr. Brown.
I'll yield. I think I've spoken quite a bit about what would have been said at the director's report. So thank you for the opportunity.
Commissioners. The nice thing about this board is, collegial as we are, someone's got something to say, they say it during the meeting. Comments by the chair. It's not a comment, it's a reflection. I was thinking about, and I mentioned this earlier, what it must have been like to be woken up at 4 a.m. and, having in some cases to escape by boat. I have a very good friend in Glendale, California, in Los Angeles County, and they got a mandatory evacuation notice from the fires. And I would like to ask all of you, because I've thought about it myself, you've got to be out of your house in an hour. What do you take? Make a list now, I guess. Pictures and pets, I think that's right. Yeah,
Papers.
Of the refrigerator.
His house, and they were able to go back. But still, when the sheriffs say you got an hour to get out, it's very frightening. All right, well, with that, are there any other matters to come before the Board of Commissioners this afternoon? A motion to adjourn is in order. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Those opposed? And we stand adjourned.
So what brings her here?
Yeah. 8:30.